Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and this is Chantal. In this video I'll be discussing topics that I find interesting in the field of neuroscience. So neuroscience is the study of both the structure and function of the nervous system as well as the brain. So this field is quite wide and expansive, but things that I have found that I gravitate towards include the effect of chronic stress on the brain, as well as transgenerational epigenetics and aging as a risk factor for different neurodegenerative diseases. So I feel like chronic stress definitely hits home for me, and I feel like a lot of us experience stress in our daily life, and also just see people going through stressful situations. And I have found that stress is not only a face value effect, but stress is greatly impacts the brain per se, and stress can therefore lead to different psychiatric disorders as well as different neurodegenerative disorders. So kind of just to step back, there are numerous different neurodegenerative disorders. Everybody commonly knows Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, or Huntington's disease. And Alzheimer's leads to dementia, so that's when it's called like old age disease, in which your memory is greatly affected as you age, to the point where you can't recognize family members or don't remember your own name. It's very sad to see that, and it's very interesting that just experiencing stress that we do every day can affect and change how certain circuits in your brain work together, and thereby changing these circuitry, you are more likely or at a higher risk to certain neurodegenerative disorders. And second topic that I find very interesting, and it links to my thesis project, is transgenerational epigenetics. And this is a very interesting topic because how incredible or how crazy is it that your genes can be changed by your environment, by different stimuli you experience, and that can be passed on to your offspring, and thereby your offspring. So then there is multiple lines or multiple generations that gets affected by whatever traumatic. Say you had some kind of traumatic event that happened during your lifetime, your third generation removed will be affected by that. So in my studies, I studied the effect of like addiction and drugs on the brain, and we see that addiction can be defined as like a behavioral disease. It's actually a behavioral disease that puts aside consequences. So it's like a compulsive intake of drugs despite whatever negative consequences there are. And with addiction, you can see that there are certain genes that become modified, and these genes are then passed on to offspring. And say your offspring can have a higher propensity or more inclined to take drugs or be even more addicted to drugs. And it's not only with drugs, like you have generational trauma that can be passed on. I forgot the name of the speaker, but there was a speaker that came to a class that I took maybe a couple of years ago, and he was talking about very significant historical events that occurred, such as the Holocaust, certain famine, and even slavery, that scientists and researchers found that even though it was 300 years ago or 50 years ago, they saw that the different generations, even in current 21st century, were experiencing physiological effects from that. So I think it was a famine in Europe in which those group, they're like probably 50 years ago, it happened that in the 21st century, their great how many great grandchild was having medical issues which seemed to be linked to lack of food, which that was not the case. Their family member was actually living a healthy, like eating like all the necessary, or already had like necessary food in that time, but because their genes or their ancestors were exposed to like lack of food, they were showing symptoms. So kind of a very convoluted way of saying that genes or genetic modifications can be translated even far further down the generation. Another topic that I mentioned was aging, and aging is of course a major risk factor for a lot of neurodegenerative diseases, primarily Alzheimer's as well, in which over time, just with aging, there is like a overgrowth or a lot of plaque buildup in the brain, and with this buildup of like different proteins, tau proteins, there are more likely to see the physiological symptoms that are shown. So neuroscience is a very interesting topic, and I hope to become even more knowledgeable about the different topics that are in the field in a couple of years, and I think I'll definitely do more videos. But before I end, a brain circuit that I find interesting is known as the reward circuitry, or the brain reward system, and this system just processes how you receive stimuli and how you are motivated. So some natural rewards include food, sleep, and certain things that give you pleasure. So with this reward system, if in the case of drugs that I study, drugs actually have a reinforcing effect, in which it's like if you're exposed to the drug just one time, say you just make a poor decision or unknowingly get exposed to any kind of drug, you are at a higher risk because just that exposure already triggers that circuit, and therefore your brain, you're even more greatly motivated to want to seek out this drug, want to take more. So even just the exposure to drugs has such a significant effect. So it's just interesting what effects are, how potent the effect of the brain is on the body and the different physiological symptoms and things that we see outwardly. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoy this video. If you like this video, I would greatly appreciate a like, and if you want to hear more of this kind of content, please subscribe, and thank you all, and I love you.